$500 million. That is how much money Michigan State University has agreed to pay more than 300 survivors, women and girls who say they were sexually abused by a man they trusted, Dr. Larry Nassar. Now, news of this settlement came just days before I traveled to New York City to sit down with Jessica Howard. The Jacksonville native was one of the very first women to speak out about being abused by the former USA Gymnastics and MSU doctor. And tonight, she has a message for all parents to help keep young athletes safe. From the time she was a little girl,
I was Clara in the First Coast Nutcracker.
Jessica Howard has been driven.
By the time I was 15, I was the national champion, and I won 3 years in a row.
Her talent and passion landed her on the cover of magazines and in the Florida Times-Union.
And you're willing to do anything, absolutely anything. It's just the most pure, innocent, all-consuming drive.
Al, they should be extremely pleased to have Jessica on board.
At the age of 15, the rhythmic gymnastics star was sent to Texas for a week to see Dr. Larry Nassar to treat her debilitating hip pain.
And of course, you do whatever USA Gymnastics says. They are the be-all and end-all. You trust them, you don't ask any questions.
And her parents trusted them too.
My parents always had a rule of traveling with me, but they didn't in this case. He just seemed like a nice guy, a doctor, somebody you could trust.
The fact that he did not look intimidating, she says, made him the perfect serial predator.
And I was an extremely innocent child, but I had no idea of what, sexual contact was.
This sexual abuse, she says, began that first visit and continued throughout the week under the guise of treatment.
I was on the table and he started massaging my legs, and with absolutely no warning or explanation, he inserted, his hands inside of me and just massaged and kept them there, and I was rigid. I knew something was wrong. It wasn't like I thought that was part of treatment, but you don't know what's happening.
Howard says the abuse stole years of her life.
It can affect your entire life. I've been dealing with those effects for the last 14 years now.
Now 34, Howard says it wasn't until she got a call about the Indy Star's investigation into allegations of abuse by Dr. Nassar that she came forward.
You used my body for 6 years. I couldn't shake the voice in my head that said something wasn't right.
My confidence was shattered and my self-worth was crushed.
Since then, more than 300 women and girls have told similar stories of abuse.
Just the way this act evolved and how huge it got, and the sheer number of victims, and the way that these institutions have protected, this culture of abuse. I mean, it's just been so shocking.
Howard now works with young athletes here in New York City. She says this is bigger than what happened to her and the other gymnasts. The sexual abuse of young athletes is widespread, and she's on a mission to change that.
It is absolutely vital that parents understand this is not something that is happening to other people. This is something that could be happening very possibly in your local dojo, or in your local ballet studio, or in your local gymnastics studio.
She says parents may be their kids' only protection.
If you're communicating with your coach, it has to be via group. Do not talk to your coach alone in a room, ever. It's not okay.
Howard says the safety of athletes has to be the top priority, not the medals and money.
It's completely systemic and institutional, and that is very clear. These people knew.
Far too many people looked the other way and allowed a predator easy access to unassuming girls.
It sets off a chain of events and emotional reactions that absolutely can destroy the future of the person, of the victim. And it's left me incapable of having a future for 15 years, 14 years. I don't know what my life would have been like, but I had potential.
You will serve 40 to 125 years.
While Nassar, 54, will spend the rest of his life in prison, Howard and more than 300 other victims will receive part of the $500 million settlement.
Hopefully it scares the tar out of any institution that maybe have the same structures.
Lawsuits against USA Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic Committee are still working their way through the court system. But Howard says this has never been about money.
I do believe this is justice, but it's not nearly the end. Justice was never a monetary number.
It's not easy to speak out about sexual abuse, and she is so brave to do so. Now, I did reach out to USA Gymnastics. They told me that they remain committed to continuing their mediation efforts to reach a resolution, and they say they're encouraged by the Michigan State University settlement. You can read their full statement as well as more advice that Howard has for parents. It's on our website right now. Just head to firstcoastnews.com.